Okay, so just to complete the set of videos I've just done over the last evening and this morning, I've recorded this flight. We're at Saanen in Switzerland. We've recorded the same flight looking around the airfield and seeing what the scenery is like nearby in Prepare 3D and in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I thought we might do exactly the same thing in X-Plane. So let's go inside the plane and get this plane fired up. So this is the Cessna. I've already switched the yoke off there. It looks a bit weird, just so we can get to the switches. Obviously in the real thing you can lean around the yoke. It's not so easy in a two-dimensional representation of it all. So we turn the master switches on, we turn the avionics on, we turn the fuel pump on, turn everything on. Actually, I don't think you need fuel pump on actually. Turn the pitot heat on. It's probably a cold morning. We put the mixture to rich. We check everything looks good, and we turn the engine over. Okay, engine is running. Put the yoke back in place. Okay, flaps to take off. Then we'll taxi out onto the runway. Make sure I've got steering, and I have. So first thing you might notice is X-Plane looks, this is the stock scenery, and X-Plane looks very good with the stock scenery. There's no add-ons here. The drawing of the runway is higher quality than possibly Flight Simulator or Prepare 3D. Obviously the buildings are just autogen, so they're nothing like real, but having said that, the buildings on the ground at Saanen look pretty much like the real ones. There is a hangar exactly there. Okay, it's not exactly like that one, and the tower's in the right place. Okay, so full throttle. It's worth saying X-Plane responds a lot more accurately to the controls than either of the others. And obviously the flight model is leagues ahead. I mean, yeah, so the airflow over the surfaces has made me take off instantly, so that's good. It's nice and smooth because it's using the Vulkan graphics drivers in X-Plane 11.5. And you can see the way the light shading is done is very realistic in X-Plane. Just out of the box it always looks good. I'm just going to trim us out so we don't climb ridiculously. So let's have a look around as we fly out. So yeah, looking at the valleys. Okay, it hasn't modelled snow on the peaks, but that's not a major issue. But it's drawing millions of trees, and it's doing fine at it, isn't it? It's lovely and smooth. Let's have a look if we bring up the frame rate counter. 40, 50 frames a second. So, to be honest, I don't take much notice of the frame rates. I know a lot of people nerd out over them. I think as long as you're getting about 20 or 30 frames a second, it's plenty. As long as it's smooth and controllable. But yeah, okay, the autogen scenery is a bit random in places, but to be honest, all you're ever interested in on a flight is it's not looking out the window, is it? It's just looking at the airfield when you're coming in. So if we do a pattern, let's go in from the other end and go in over that. We'll go around that hill, around the back of the hill, and come in at the other end of the runway, just for something that's a bit more fun. You can actually move yourself around easily in X-Plane, which you can't do so well. See what I mean? Which isn't so easy in the other simulators. So you can look over the nose. Bizarrely, Flight Sim 2020 removed that element of control from the keyboard, so you can't shift yourself up and down anymore. You can only toggle it with the space bar. I mean, the trees in the autogen scenery in X-Plane I think are very good. We'll shift the weather in a few minutes. Maybe turn the rain on so we get an idea of what it looked like compared to I mean, obviously Flight Simulator has the best weather at the moment. But ActiveSky is very good in P3D, but it's a paid add-on, so you'd expect no less. But it has to be said, this thing flies better than any of them, because it's a proper simulator. It's simulating the airflow over the aircraft. Okay, there's the airfield. Flaps down. And we're down. Brakes. Can we make it before we get to the end of the... Yes, we can. The flaps back up. Okay, so let's go and see what the weather controls are like in X-Plane while we're sat here. So I'll just apply the parking brake, which is underneath here, bizarrely, so you have to all the controls to do that. So flight configuration. So we can see we've got weather here. Let's customize it, and we've got weather mode manually configured. At the moment we're just using the real world weather. Manually configured. We want some precipitation, please. Can we get snow in here easily? So let's just say it's heavy precipitation. Done. And apply. So that's really a bit rubbish, isn't it? Let's turn it up a bit more. Flight configuration. Customize. Actually, let's go for that. So we can do it here, look. We can say overcast, low visibility, foggy, stormy. That will do. Apply. That's a bit better. So let's go and try and do a fly around with the weather a bit more severe. We don't need the whole runway to take off with the Cessna. Okay, so we should get fairly good turbulence in X-Plane. Again, because it's modelling the turbulent air over the airframe. So we're up. We're being thrown around all over the place, which is awesome. It's much more realistic. So it's a tiny light little aeroplane, and the wind is hitting us and throwing us all over the shop. So let's see. Whoa, we're almost stalling because obviously the wind turned and went with us for a moment. Okay, it's not nice, is it? It's a shame it's not modelling the raindrops on the windscreen, but some of the payware aircraft do that, but they use a script to do it and it hits the frame rate quite a lot, but it can be done. Obviously 2020 does it out of the box. P3D does it on some of the payware aircraft as well. And we're down. So I'm skidding, trying to hold the runway centre line, which is not fun. I can't actually steer into the The wind caught me then and was stopping me from turning, which was great. Okay, so let's go and put the parking brake on. Oops. Turn the engine off and turn everything off. So yeah, that was X-Plane. It's more of a study level simulator than a fun game. You can really say the other simulators are games compared to it, to be honest. It's a completely different animal. And you know, you can see just the level of, even on the free aircraft, the reason the shape is so accurate is because it uses it to model the air over the shape, to make it behave like the real aircraft. It's just a very different approach to doing flight simulation, and a better way really. Anyway, there we go, that was X-Plane at Saanen in Switzerland. It's a great place to go flying around. There's lots of small airfields in the valleys nearby. You can travel south to some of the more famous airports, or over to the west you've got Geneva. But yeah, anyway, there's Saanen in X-Plane 11.5.